the new girl in town. Sarah opened the door of Bay Harbor Library. It was her first day as the new librarian. She felt nervous but excited. The small library smelled like old books and coffee. The morning sun made everything look bright and beautiful. She walked to her new desk and saw a note. "Welcome to Bay Harbor. Please visit the coffee corner across the street for your morning coffee. First drink is free for the new librarian." Sarah smiled. This small town was already making her feel at home. She looked through the window and saw a cute coffee shop with blue windows. At the coffee corner, a tall man with dark hair was making coffee. He smiled at Sarah. "Hi, I am Michael, the owner of this place. You must be the new librarian," he said. Sarah felt her cheeks turn red. Michael was very handsome, and his green eyes were kind. They talked and laughed for a long time. Suddenly, a woman walked into the coffee shop. She looked exactly like Michael. Same green eyes, same dark hair. Sarah was confused. The woman looked at Michael and shouted, "Mike, what are you doing behind the counter? And why are you telling people you own my coffee shop?" Sarah's mouth opened in surprise. Michael's face turned white. The woman turned to Sarah and said, "Hi, I am Michelle, Michael's twin sister. I am the real owner of the coffee corner. And my brother is just a waiter here." Sarah couldn't believe it. She looked at Michael, who was now staring at the floor. Her perfect first morning in Bay Harbor had just become very, very complicated. Sarah walked quickly back to the library. Her heart was beating fast. She felt sad and angry. Why did Michael lie to her? She couldn't stop thinking about his red face when Michelle appeared. The books on her desk didn't seem interesting anymore. Later that afternoon, the library door opened slowly. It was Michael, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. Sarah didn't want to look at him, but she could smell the fresh coffee. Some children in the library were watching them with curious eyes. "Please, Sarah, let me explain," Michael said. They sat at a small table near the window. Michael looked different now, not like the confident coffee shop owner from the morning. "I am sorry I lied," he said. "I wanted to impress you. My sister Michelle is successful. She owns the coffee shop, has a big house, and travels a lot. And me? I am just a waiter who lives in a small apartment." Sarah listened quietly. She remembered how it felt when she first arrived in Bay Harbor, scared and wanting to impress everyone. But she never lied about who she was. "Michael," she said, "I understand feeling insecure, but lying is not the answer. How can I trust you now?" Just then, Michelle walked into the library. She was carrying a big box of cookies. "These are for your first library event," she said to Sarah. Then she looked at Michael and smiled. "And by the way, little brother, you forgot to mention that you are also the best coffee artist in town and that you are studying to open your own bakery." Sarah looked at Michael with surprise. There was still a lot to learn about the coffee shop waiter. Sarah was organizing books when she heard excited voices. A group of children ran into the library, followed by Michael. He was carrying a tray of beautiful cupcakes. Each cupcake had a tiny book made of sugar on top. "These are for your first reading club," he said. The children looked at the cupcakes with big smiles. "I made them myself," Michael said quietly. "I practice baking every night after work." He showed Sarah his hands. They had small burns and cuts from baking. Sarah felt something warm in her heart. This was the real Michael, not the fake coffee shop owner, but a hard-working man with a dream. She remembered the delicious smell of coffee and cookies from her first day. Michelle came in and saw the cupcakes. "Oh, Mike, these are perfect," she said. Then she turned to Sarah. "My brother is too shy to tell you, but he won a baking contest last month. That's why I let him experiment in my kitchen after hours." Michael's face turned red again, but this time he was smiling. Sarah realized she was smiling too. The children started their reading club, eating Michael's cupcakes and sharing stories. Sarah watched as Michael helped a small boy read a difficult word. He was patient and kind. This was not the man who had lied to her. This was someone much more interesting, someone real. But then Sarah saw something strange. Michelle was looking at some papers in her bag, and her face was worried. She quickly put them away when she saw Sarah watching. Sarah wondered what was wrong. Maybe the coffee shop had problems? She remembered how Michael said his sister was successful, but now she wasn't so sure. That evening, Sarah stayed late at the library. She heard voices from outside. Michael and Michelle were arguing near the coffee shop. "We need to tell them the truth," Michael said. "The bank wants to close the coffee shop." Michelle was crying. Sarah's heart stopped. The perfect little coffee shop was in trouble. Sarah watched through the window as Michelle showed Michael more papers. "All my savings are gone," Michelle said. "I tried to keep the coffee shop open, but it's too hard. That's why I work 2 jobs." Michael hugged his sister. Sarah remembered how Michelle always seemed busy, running in and out of the coffee shop. Now she knew why. Suddenly, Sarah had an idea. The library had an empty room that no one used. It was perfect for a small cafe. She opened the door and ran to Michael and Michelle. "I think I can help," she said. Both twins looked at her with surprise. Sarah explained her idea. "We can open a library cafe. People can read books and eat Michael's amazing cakes." Michelle's eyes got big. "But why would you help us?" she asked. "Because," Sarah said, looking at Michael, "everyone deserves a second chance. And sometimes the best things in life come from being honest about who we are." Michael reached for Sarah's hand, and this time she didn't pull away. That night, as Sarah walked home, she saw lights on in the coffee shop. Through the window, she could see Michael teaching Michelle how to make coffee art. They were laughing. Sarah smiled, but she still felt nervous. Would her idea really work? Could she save their coffee shop? 3 months later, the Bay Harbor Library looked very different. The empty room was now the Book and Bean Cafe. Students sat in comfortable chairs, reading books and drinking coffee. Michael's cakes were famous in the whole town. The smell of coffee and books mixed together perfectly, just like that first morning. Michelle was happier now. She didn't have to work 2 jobs anymore. The cafe made enough money to pay the bank. She managed the business side, while Michael created new recipes. His latest creation was story time cookies. Each cookie had a different fairy tale character on it. The children loved them, especially during reading club. Sarah watched as Michael taught a young girl how to make hot chocolate. He was different now, more confident, but in a real way. He didn't need to pretend anymore. Sometimes he still blushed when Sarah looked at him, but now it made her smile. She liked the real Michael much more than the fake coffee shop owner. One morning, Michael brought Sarah a special coffee. In the foam, he had made a perfect picture of a tiny open book. Inside the book, written in chocolate, were the words, "Will you go on a date with me?" Sarah looked at Michael and saw that same nervous smile from their first meeting. But this time, everything was different. This time, everything was real. The library was now the busiest place in Bay Harbor. People came for the books, stayed for the coffee, and returned for the community they found there. Sarah looked around at her perfect little library cafe, at Michelle counting the day's earnings with a happy face, at Michael making his special coffees, and she knew. Sometimes the best stories are the ones that don't go as planned.
Do you want to follow new stories and stay up to date with all the releases? Subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment so I'll know you're enjoying it.